Last month, I made 104,000 US dollars with my online business. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly how I did it. I'm going to explain the whole journey. I'm going to explain everything you need to know. And this is not going to be for someone who has a little dopamine hit and wants a flashy video with a load of fancy edits. This is for you if you are someone who wants to sit down and listen to someone who has built a business which has generated 6 figures in a month and hear everything you need to know about how you can do the exact same. This is not going to be fancy. It's just me taking a little walk in Greece where I'm right now, but I'm going to go in depth into loads of different subjects, a load of different topics in terms of generating leads, content, everything like that. So this is going to be everything you need to know to do this for your own business as well. As I said, don't expect anything flashy, but put your headphones in, go for a walk, go and make dinner, go and, sit on the sofa and relax, because this is going to be in-depth and it's going to be everything you need to know. There's going to be some absolute gems in here, gems that I haven't shared in any other video on my channel, and I think it's worth sticking around. So I think it all starts really with the concept of how I built my offer to start with. So you right now, you probably either have an offer or you're looking to build an offer, but it comes down to building something called a no-brainer offer. And I always found this concept fascinating because I was jumping on calls with people and you can just see in someone's mind when someone says, that's such a good deal. That's such a good deal. And obviously that has to do with when people say that about anything in life. But I wanted to create an offer that when I said it to people, they thought it was an incredibly good price for the thing that I was giving them. So you need to think, how can you build the single best offer possible? The single best offer possible. And the way that I thought about that is using all the things you've basically packaged up. How can you create the best, almost like problem, or the most amount of problems that solve for people? And the way that, like, if I tangibly explain that, what I mean by that is you have the human being that you want to help and solve the problems for. So that human being is a specific singular person who has a full set of problems that you are trying to solve. And that human being, you need to work out how can you solve as many of their problems in one offer as possible. So let me be very clear about that. The thing that I did when I was solving my offer, which was the first offer that I had, which was a pure content offer, right at the start of, like, when I began this whole thing in January, so 9 months ago, I was just helping people with the content. And I was thinking, how can I create an offer which has so many components that solve so many problems that someone's going to be like, this is incredible. And that is the essence of a no-brainer offer. You need to work out, a lot of people, they just, they're a PT. So they're just like, I don't know, maybe you're a PT, maybe you're something else, but PTs, I think a really great example is a lot of people who are PTs will be like, I'm going to just help people with their nutrition. I'm going to make them a meal plan, and then I'm going to make them a gym program. And that's going to be the value that I give them. Whereas if you think about it, that actually only solves 2 problems. Whereas you could go and do, think about the 1,000 problems that people have. How do you go and buy food? Where do you buy the food from? I don't know, what is the alternative if this is not available? And if you can solve like a problem set of 50 problems as opposed to a problem set of like 2 problems, then you immediately make an incredibly good offer. So I was basically making, sorry, I need to keep my voice down because there's a yoga class going on. But I was basically, I made content templates, I made content scripts, I made like how to generate loads of ideas, ChatGPT prompts, all of these things. And even if you're, at, 20, 30K a month, you're probably not doing this enough. And the singular reason that I think that my no-brainer offer turned me into making that 100,000 in the 1 month is just because of the fact that I got so many incredible testimonials. That was the fascinating thing that I did with that, because the no-brainer offer firstly sells people when they join the call, but also what happens is it means that they definitely get good results because I solve so many of their problems. My clients don't get stuck. So that was one thing, is that because I've got so many resources that solve so many problems, my clients don't struggle with the things that they have to do. You know, I help people build and scale online businesses with content, and I have solved almost every single problem in that whole field for the clients that I work with. So that is about the no-brainer offer. Then you want to turn that into testimonials, basically. So doubling down on that, that's exactly, I think, the second thing that I want to talk about, which is I jumped on call after call after call after call, sales call after sales call. How fucking beautiful is this, by the way? I jumped on sales call after sales call. And every time, the people would say two things. They would say, firstly, they trust me. And secondly, they know that I'm going to get them the results because of the fact that I've got so many testimonials out there. And I remember in about like March time, an incredible story, which I think you'll love, which is I basically was jumping on loads of calls, but I couldn't seem to close anybody. Like every single person was just like, think about it. Oh, I'm not sure. This feels like a risk. And I asked one person why they said no. And they said, you just simply do not have, I don't see the proof enough. I don't see that you've done, that you can help people. And they're right, because what I did have is I did have the testimonials, but I hadn't made any of them. I had all of these people who I'd helped for like 2 months already at that point, and I hadn't put it online anywhere. So then I was like, all right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna film as many testimonials in this weekend. So I remember I was sat in like a room in Dubai, sat in this co-working area or this like little coffee shop, and I literally worked for maybe 20 hours over like a weekend. It was more than that, probably, I don't know, 24 hours in one weekend, and got these testimonials out there. And then after that, honestly, everything, like I think I did 50K on, like, yeah, it was like 53K on the third month, so in March, and that was literally just after releasing the testimonials. And then I realized that people just want to see other people do the same. Humans suffer with something called herd behavior bias, which is that if we see other people doing it, we also believe that it works, right? You know, you follow the crowd, you're the sheep almost. And I realized that if I just put as many testimonials everywhere as possible, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna do well. So I then created an Instagram channel just for my business. So if you see my Instagram, it has the Free Thinkers Club just in my business, in my bio, and that has a load of testimonials. Which is, I'll film a 25-minute testimonial with someone, put it on YouTube, which is like the landing page I have it on, and then I also have it on the Instagram. That works so well. So I guess my next tip for you is thinking about how, you know, I've scaled so quickly. The almost second instruction I would say you have to do, you have to film testimonials, as many as possible. You obviously have to, to have done that, to absolutely knock it out of the park for your clients. But once you have done that, which I don't doubt you can't do, you then have to go and actually film those testimonials and put them absolutely everywhere. Putting testimonials everywhere, game changer. So that helps. And now, to this day, every time someone closes, every time someone comes on board, they go, I've seen your testimonials. Such a classic line that people use. And I love it because, yeah, it shows to me that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing something right by putting those testimonials somewhere. So that's the second thing that I see on sales calls that people talk to me about. The third, which I, this is going to be a longer topic, but this is really where I feel my source is. And what, one of the things that I've learned a lot is the idea of building trust. This is my kind of favorite topic within this whole online business space, which is that people fundamentally, this is not me being like, scare tactics. People just don't trust us. Like in this space, people don't trust what we are, because I've met a lot of people who are just complete scammers, like fully complete scammers. And that therefore means that people don't trust us, especially in the consumer market. There's a massive lack of trust. So I like really love first principles thinking, which is this idea that there's kind of fixed laws of life that you can use in order to derive meaning and understanding of what you should do with business or other things in life. So I always come from a first principles understanding, and because of first principles saying that principally trust is the issue in the online space, then or in this online space, how can you then reverse engineer that to be able to make as much money or help as many people as possible? So then I was like, well, everything I've got to do is got to be about how can I generate trust? And then I was thinking, okay, how is trust generated? And I've made a lot of videos on how to just generate trust, but from very like top-down approach to this, the way to generate trust is to build as much value as possible, show as much evidence as possible, and to be as authentic as possible. That was kind of the way that I thought about things, because I want to film these types of videos. So for you, I would say, yes, you can have the fancy edits. Yes, you can have the beautiful vlogs, but the real thing that makes people really want to buy your product when you are using a personal brand is just being so ridiculously authentic. So ridiculously authentic. I could not recommend authenticity more for you than I am right now. I'm doing a lot, because authenticity means that I didn't have to doubt that I could pick up the camera and film this video. I was very comfortable with the idea that I could just literally walk up, film this video and put it out there. Whereas if I had a mask on me, if I was trying to be someone that I'm not, if I was trying to be this flash Lamborghini boy, if I was trying to be this hard as nails, like, I don't know, if I was trying to be anyone other than myself, then putting this bit of content out there and putting any bit of content out there would just feel wrong, and it would cause me to burn out. So the reason why authenticity is great is because it allows you to just be you, and it allows other people to see you for you. And now I ask myself this one question. I think you'll be fascinated by this, like that I have maybe 40%, I think it's about 40% my clients are female, and that is literally unheard of in my space. Unheard of in my space. And we were asking why, me and my sales guy, and we were saying, well, it's probably because the male Lamborghini, like, it's all about just scale and very masculine, and the feminine side of being more authentic, more in touch with your emotions, really comes out in the authentic content. Anyway, bit of a theory, but I digress. What I'm trying to say is authenticity is the thing that will help you win. It will help you win, and it will help people rock up to your sales calls going, I want to work with you because of the reason that I like you, and I trust that you're going to do well because I feel like I know you. And that has been an incredible thing to witness and watch. I have my program is quite expensive, so I do get a lot of people who say they can't afford it. However, I also find that most people are pretty much pre-sold when they come to my sales calls. And that, again, is pretty unheard of in this space. It's very rare for someone to really come, and most people are like, yes, I would like to work with this person. So that's quite been a very interesting thing to witness, but is exactly the way I want to run a business, because I want people to be absolutely ready to go and just need a little push on price and kind of be then ready to commit and change their lives with me. So anyway, that's another thing that I found fascinating. I appreciate you watching this right now. By the way, if you are watching, please just drop something in the comments, just saying what you've learned so far, because I really appreciate your time. But there's a lot more to come here for sure, because I want to talk about a bit more about the kind of content side of things. Because I think if people might look at me holding a video like this, maybe you look at me now and you're like, oh, this guy's an absolute natural. Well, maybe you don't think that, but some people have said that to me. They're like, oh, content comes so easy to you. And I cannot tell you how fucking hard this was. Even like a year ago, I was all over the place with content. And I feel like I've really developed a system that I'm proud of, which really helps me make incredible content, and it makes me make content and sometimes is incredible. And I'll actually explain what I mean by that. So there's two big systems that I want to talk about within my content like machine, which I'm generating like 3 million views a month right now. And everything is everything is inbound. So all of the money that we make comes inbound. So let me talk to you about these two systems. So the first system is, I guess it's kind of a system, it's more a theory of how to do things. But the first system is the idea of the spaghetti theory of content creation. And I developed this after realizing that the way to make content is super simple. As opposed to trying to be a creative, which I'm not a creative person. I probably have the camera way too close to my face. I'm probably very overexposed. I'm all over the place with content, with creativity. But what I am good at is looking at things from an objective, scientific way. And I thought, okay, let's try and do this with content. And then what I did is I started doing this thing of posting loads and just being like, I have no fucking idea what's gonna work. So I'm just gonna post as much as possible. So then I was like posting. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, this one did really well. So I did more of the thing that did well and did less of the thing that didn't do well. And over time I kept doing that. So then I'd post more of the thing that did really well, but in different ways. And I'd do that. And then I'd post less of the thing that didn't do well. And I'd constantly iterate the things that did do well or post some of the exact same stuff that did well. And then it kept doing even better and better. And then my average views went from like 300 to 500 views a reel, all the way to where I'm like generating, well, at the peak of when I was doing when everything in my life was focused on content creation, I was getting between 10 to like 50K views per video. So I really seemed to master the skill of content creation, and it was because of the spaghetti theory of content creation, which is what I basically just described there, which is throw spaghetti at the wall. You need to basically throw as much spaghetti at the wall as possible and wait till something sticks. Something might not stick forever, but when it does stick, you have a winner. And what you want to do when you find a winner is double down on that winner. You want to start posting more about that, because what it shows is that you have basically video market fit, which is what I call the idea of you have found a video which works, which people like, which people want to watch, and you need to make more of that stuff. I'm not saying make the same video every single time, but you'll find certain topics where you're like, these just bang. For me, when I talk about Bali, when I talk about Bali, when I talk about locking in, when I talk about business class, when I talk about leaving the UK, all of those topics, they bang. So what I found is when I make more videos on those topics, I can literally guarantee doing well. And right now, I think in my top 4 best performing YouTube videos, the top 3 of them are about leaving the UK. So I know whenever I post about leaving the UK, it's gonna do well because of the spaghetti theory of content creation. So for you right now, you're probably in a stage where you just need to post more. You just need to actually get more data points to allow yourself to have the right video that works. So for you, I would say just literally go and post as much as possible. And then in a week's time, look back and go, that worked, that didn't work, that worked, that didn't work. And then just do more of the thing that worked. And that way you literally just get more views and more engagement because you're just doubling down and doing more of the thing that worked. So simple, but in content creation, people seem to really confuse it and also try and be way too artistic about it. Like, content is about being an engineer, a scientist, not being a creative, arty person. So I won't have you telling me that that you're not arty enough or you're not creative enough for content, because fucking hell, like, I can hardly draw a stick man or a whiteboard, let alone do anything creative. So yeah, that's the first system. Incredible system, simplifies making content. The second system, which is more of a how to hit consistency, is this idea of, I call it basically, now this is gonna get confusing. So ignore the fact that I've said systems. This other system that I call it has 2 systems within it. And the purpose of these 2 systems is to free your time up as much as possible to be able to make as much content as you can. So the first system within this system that I'm talking about is called system number one. And system number one, I should probably get better names for these, but you know, anyway, system number one is basically me batch making as much as possible. So I want to basically have the next 1 to 2 weeks, probably, yeah, I'd say always have at least 2 weeks of content in the bank, because then what happens is and to do that, by the way, you need to batch the filming, the editing, the scripting, the posting. So you need to, and when I say batch, just to be very clear, if you want to know, it's doing it all at once. So I would script 5 videos and then like film all 5 videos and then edit all 5 videos, and you can do them all in separate stages, but the activation energy needed for you to actually go and do the thing means that once you've done it once, you need to go and do it multiple times. So I'll just go and bang out content after content after content, and then now I'll send it to an editor, but I used to then edit all 5 videos at once, and etc, etc. Anyway, then you have what I call like a backlog. Well, not what I call it is a backlog. You have a backlog, and then what you can do is start using system number 2. So system number 1, to be very clear, is batch filming in advance. Then what this puts you into is a state of content abundance. It allows you to basically have like free time to make whatever content you want, which is really the fun part about content. What I love about content is this part where I didn't plan or script this video, but because I really felt like when I woke up on this beautiful morning in Greece that I was going to make a video about content, about hitting 100K and what people wanted to do, I could just yap and post it because I have my YouTube done for the next 2 weeks. But I was like, oh, this would be quite fun to post and put up there. So I just made this, and that's because I'm in content abundance. And this comes to system number 2. System number 2 is where whenever you have an idea that you feel passionate about, or wherever you have, a little download, we both know that you kind of get those like, that would be a good idea. That would be a good idea. You could be walking, you could be talking, and you're like, that could be a good idea. So that's exactly what I had with this. I was like, well, this would actually be a really good idea to talk and basically just have a little walk down the beach and explain a bit more about making 100K. So I'm going to post it. So that is what you need. And that's system number 2, that's like the abundance system, because you're in this abundance. You're like, I've got so many videos, I can relax. And that is when the best ideas come to you. So you need both, because if you're in a scarcity mindset with content, then what will happen is you will just end up fully just like wake up in the morning, hating content, posting shit content, and you'll be all over the place. And that is exactly what you want to avoid. You don't want to be within that system, because that system, ladies and gentlemen, and you, is going to absolutely break you. Once you then don't wake up every morning and want to make content, you're in abundance, you can post videos like this, you can post when you want, and then you start loving content because it feels like you're actually creating, you're actually just doing what you want. But then you know that every day you still have a post going out there. So within system number 2, that is system number 1, which is batching, and system number 2, which is your like abundant creator little system. So that's what I've learned about content, and it's helped me a lot. Then I guess the other thing that I've learned about content is there are many things within content that you need to get rid of in terms of outsourcing. And I don't know, if you're watching this and you're making between 5 and 10K a month, I would say, and obviously anyone above that as well. But if you are within that, then one thing I want you to do, I implore you to do, is to get an editor. Because you and I both know, if you've done any editing, the editing, even putting captions on, even going and posting the video is absolutely a waste of your time, because you spend like triple this amount of time editing than you do filming the video. So what you're telling me is you can film 3 videos or you can edit 1 video. And that to me makes no sense. And I've had like one of my editors, one of my editors has been with me for about 2 years now, and I've always insisted on having him because it allows me to make so much more content. So you need to make sure you have an editor. Obviously, this then applies to the rest of your business. When you start finding other tasks that you're like, I should probably get rid of this task. I should probably not be doing this task. It's probably quite low leverage for me. So that was one thing that I believe very passionately in early doors with content, and then also with loads of other other things involved in that process, which is you have to outsource quickly. And there's a few of my clients right now that I'm pushing because I can see, you know, they're making 5-10K a month, but I can see them fearing pushing on the content, on the outsourcing, because no one wants to start paying someone $1,000 a month. No one wants to start paying someone $500 a month as an editor, but you have to do that because that stuff is the stuff that's not making you money. Editing does not make you money. Making videos makes you money. You're the bottleneck on that. You are not the bottleneck on editing. You can get some awesome person from maybe a cheaper, or I don't know what's the politically correct word, cheaper place of the world, less, I don't know, anyway, you know what I mean, from there and get it for a very good price, and they do a great job. So editing, unbelievable hack. Yeah, could not believe the amount of people that don't do their own or do their own editing and are making like 50K a month. It blows my mind. I guess that's segments nicely, and again, I appreciate you watching this far. You will be rewarded for this stuff. This is the stuff which is giving you education to do the thing that you need to do, and spending time on this is investing time in your education. So good job. I would used to watch these videos while I was walking through like parks or while I was cooking food. So yeah, pat on the back for you. That's what we'll go for. But I want to talk a bit more about mindset, and I know you're probably like, fucking hell, some guy talking about mindset again. But one thing that I've unanimously agreed with everyone is that there are certain with everyone, let me be more specific about that. One thing I've unanimously agreed with everyone that I've met who is incredibly successful. So when I say incredibly successful, I mean, not only are they making incredible money, like 6 figures a month plus, but they also have a great life, a great personal life. They have a great, they're very emotionally intelligent. They're good people, right? And I basically agree that there's these stages to getting to 100K, and then obviously I can't really speak anything more than 100K. But the two stages are, stage number 1 is getting from 0 to 20K, and then stage number 2 is getting from 20 to 100K. Because once you can regularly make 20K a month, then you are sat in a vehicle that is scalable. You are sat in a vehicle which is bringing in incredibly good capital. 20K a month in itself is fucking incredible, but you're bringing in so much money, or a good amount of money, and it's a scalable vehicle. So firstly, we need to work out how we get you to 20K. And even if you are watching this and you're making over 20K a month, definitely an interesting concept, because the one thing that you need to almost understand when you're making less than that is that your mindset is not where it needs to be. And I'm being pretty direct with that. And I can say that because I've worked with 58 or 59 people now, I think 59 people who all started with me below 20K a month. And the thing that they struggle with is twofold. It's mindset, which I'll go into, and it's also just executing the things that you need to do. Clarity and execution. So knowing what you need to do and then doing the thing. And that kind of overlaps with mindset, because I've noticed all of these behavior patterns that I went through myself, but also I've seen all of my clients go through, and those behavior patterns are the things that keep them below 20K a month. So the reason you are stuck below 20K a month is you and your behavior patterns. And this is a hard truth that everyone needs to understand, is that your business is where it is because of you. It's not where it is because of the market. It's not where it is because you've not got the right little hack and you've got the wrong technique and all these sort of things. It is almost fundamental, or it's almost fully to do with you and your behaviors and your values. So the only way for you to increase your business, especially when you're a solo founder, especially when you're working on your own, even if you're working with someone else, but if you're working on your own, is to change you. And you have to change your mindset and your behaviors. And one of the things that you are almost definitely doing when you are under 20K a month, and again, I've seen this because I've worked with so many people who are under this, I've seen behavior pattern over behavior, after behavior pattern, is you just do not do shit quick enough. And when I mean that, I mean, you have an idea, you maybe write it down in a journal or on a notes page, or you think, oh, that'd be a cool thing to do. And then you forget about it and you don't do it. And then you constantly, for the next 2 months, think about doing that thing. You're like, oh, should I do that? Should I do that? I'm not sure whether I want to do that. And let me tell you, the singular behavior pattern that I see, and I've lived with people who are making like many, many millions a year, and I've, worked with people who are making many, many millions a year. Anyway, I've seen all these people making all this money, and all they do, and I adopted this habit, and it's one of the reasons that I'm exactly where I am right now, is that when I see or do something or have an idea, I just fucking do it. This video is a perfect example of that, because last night I had the idea, I want to film a really long video explaining to you how to make 100K in a month. And I just went and I set my alarm for 7 o'clock this morning. I probably needed to sleep in, but I feel pretty tired, but I just got up and I did it. I charged my Osmo overnight, I got my microphone, and I just went and fucking did it. Let's turn around. I just went and did it. And how beautiful is this? I went and did it. And that, action and execution is the reason that I am where I am. And it's the reason where the people that I know who are really successful are also where they are. So the thing about doing things quickly is this idea of imperfect action and 80-20. So there's a lot of principles behind it, which I like, which is firstly the idea that this 80-20 rule, that most of what you think needs to be done, so 80% of the input actually only leads to 20% of the output, and then vice versa. So when you go and do all the hard work and take all the time, you're actually not necessarily moving the dial that much. So for example, I could have made this video by doing a massive scripting session. I could have made this video by setting up a studio light and getting the nicest camera I could find. Or I just made do with what I did. Yes, the quality might be a bit affected. Yes, the scripting is not going to be incredible, but also the real crux of why this video is good is it's authentic, and it's also detailed, full of information. And that is why this will be a good video, because it's an imperfect action. And the more imperfect action you do, the quicker your imperfect action gets better. Let me explain that concept. So the more you do, so for example, let me talk about filming YouTube videos, the more of the shit you do, the much quicker that you can do things that aren't shit. So when I make YouTube videos now, I made 4 YouTube videos a week for about, and I'm doing 5 a week right now, but about 2 months ago I was making, or 3 months ago I was making 4 a week. And they were shit. They were so bad. A lot of them were just me yapping into a camera and not necessarily making so much sense. But I did the action, and in literally a month, I had posted 16 times, right? And most people in a month on YouTube post maybe twice or 3 times. So I was moving at a 7 or 8x speed to most people on YouTube. So my learning was going like this, like it was absolutely accelerating. And that allowed me to now be able to talk for 32 minutes on a camera about basically about the concept of building a business and being able to succinctly do it, and being able to do it with clarity, being able to speak in a good way to a camera. But I only did that because I took imperfect action. I only did that because, is my camera super, I think I've been spitting on my camera. There we go. Talking with so much passion about online business. But I did imperfect action, and that allowed me to make incredibly good, quick progress, so that now when I make a YouTube video, it's easy. And that is why when I say you have to do a lot of shit to then not do the shit, and then I can take imperfect action. But when I say imperfect, it's probably 90% off perfect, as opposed to at the start when it's 60% off perfect. But what we want to make sure that we're hitting is rapid behavior learning, rapid change. And I want you to try and apply that to everything in your life. How can you do things which are not the best in the world, but also cover most bases, but just get things done, just getting things done? And that idea of getting things done is one of the reasons that you're stuck under 20K, or one of the reasons why one of the behavior patterns that you need to keep going if you're wanting to go more higher and higher in terms of your revenue. So that was one thing that I learned is that mindset shift of imperfect action. Okay, the next thing that I want to mention is this concept of abundance. So abundance is a very, very complicated concept, and something that I'm not even perfect at it now, right? I can't even pretend I'm perfect at it now, but it's a mindset and a frame that I use that has helped me break through a lot of fears in my business. And that is this idea that money is everywhere. And I really struggled to get my head around this when people were saying this to me, because I went, what do you mean money is everywhere? I don't have a lot of money. Like, even when I was making, I don't know, 15, 20K a month, I didn't believe in abundance, because I was like, oh, I'm pretty terrified of like this running out. I'm gonna hoard my money. But the idea that abundance exists is so important. It's the hardest belief we get through, because money is like a really emotional subject for a lot of us. It has a lot to do with our childhood, how our parents raised us, how much money we had as a kid, how much money we were around as a kid. And I have a lot of clients, and I was fortunate to grow up in a fairly kind of middle class upbringing, but I even being surrounded by an average or good amount of money in my life, I still have a scarcity mindset. I have a lot of clients who didn't come from a money background, and they really have a scarcity mindset of money because they're always used to money not being around. And so what I'm trying to say is, having this abundance mindset, what it means is knowing that money is everywhere. I look around me right now, right? I don't know, there's villas over there, villas there, an incredible resort over behind me there, which, it costs like 1.5, 2K to stay there. All of these people all these people here have a lot of money. All these people, what I mean is, I can see money everywhere. There's money, like, I remember just sitting, maybe in more useful examples, I remember sitting in the business class lounge in Dubai, and the business class lounge in Dubai is bigger than like Stansted Airport, one of the biggest airports in the UK. And that is just for people who can afford to fly business class. And we both know those tickets are like 2K per ticket to fly somewhere, right? So there's a lot of people who have got a lot of money. And I realized that there is so much money everywhere in the world that we just need to tap into it. And we need to not be scared of spending it and losing it, because there's value to tap into everywhere. Like, even here, right, there's like a little restaurant on the side of a beach in Greece, in Rhodes, and they have a value because there's people walking around me, I'm walking here, and all these people have money that they are willing to spend. So this restaurant makes money from that flow of value. But there's also jet ski companies out here who make money from people wanting to rent jet skis, because why would you not want a jet ski on this beautiful sea? And what I'm trying to say is there's value everywhere, and now I can see it because of the fact that I have random people on the internet paying me 5-figure sums, that I'm like, okay, I now understand value and the fact that there's value everywhere. But when you're at the start, when you're at that 0 to 20K a month, it's hard to see that. And I've been there, right? So I can say that with authority, that I know that you feel that there isn't that everywhere. It's not going to, it's like, you feel basically that the money is going to run out. You feel that if you spend that money on like software or hiring someone, that it's not going to come. But you have to get into an abundant state in order to scale past that 0 to 20K, because fundamentally you need to spend money on leveraging yourself out of certain tasks, leveraging yourself out of certain day-to-day activities by hiring people, by getting software, by getting code to work for you. And all of that involves spending money. So that abundance mindset also comes into like sales calls, when you're like, okay, well, I've got a sales call and they might not close, but I don't care if they don't close, because there's loads more value in the world for me to be able to deal with. So that works incredibly well as that abundance mindset, to then be able to say, okay, I feel fine that person hasn't bought, because there's another 1,000 people in the world who, it's when you say 1,000, it's definitely going to be hundreds of thousands of people who can still like be in my market, can still have my product, and I just need to go and find them. And then that just helps so much in the sales process. So that's the third thing that I'd say, maybe the third mindset shift. I don't know how many mindset shifts I'm on, but that is so important, that abundance mindset, and I'm so happy that I embrace that. The fourth or the third or whatever mindset shift, I believe people are stuck between 0 and 20K. And by the way, after this, I'm going to then talk about how you can scale past 20K to 100K. But The fourth mindset shift is this idea of embracing failure. And again, you're probably someone who does that because you're watching this video. You've clearly got a good mindset if you're watching this video, if you're 40 minutes through a video, but thanks very much for staying with me. If you have a mindset issue, or if you have an issue where you don't accept failure, then your rate of learning is so bad, because every time that I accept failure, I learn something which is good or bad about taking that action. So every time that I fail, there's a part where I'm like, okay, fine, I failed, but I need to not do that again, or I need to do that differently next time. So therefore, if I fail 10 times versus you not failing once, I pick up 10 learnings, which I can then talk to people about, I can then help people with, I can then make sure that I don't do in the future, and I increase my likelihood of success. And what you do is when you fail hundreds and hundreds of times, your likelihood of success versus someone who doesn't fail 100,000 times is much higher. So you are much likely to confidently take an action knowing it's going to lead to you making money. And let me be super tangible about that for you. So for example, let's go to these YouTube videos. I made so many bad YouTube videos. I put so much crap out there that I now know what works and what doesn't work. I filmed so much content, embarrassed myself so much online. I've kept all of my old YouTube videos up because of the fact that I now know that I now know what I need to do. I now know what works and what doesn't work. So my ability, and then I'm very, very apt and confident in YouTube now because of taking all those failures, because of having videos that did badly, because of having things that didn't perform like I wanted to, maybe embarrassing myself. But I was very confident in doing that if I failed, I would learn from it. So being able to embrace failure is awesome. The last thing that I want to talk about with mindset from 0 to 20 is something that I developed personally myself, having to deal with basically an issue that I had, which was when I jump on the sales calls, and I kind of mentioned this a bit in abundance, but I think this is an even more important point to make separately, is when you're between 0 and 20K, you are an emotional wreck. And I'm still not great at it, but I'm much better at it now, which is you are so emotional in your business. You are you make a sale, especially if you're right now in your product is high ticket. You make a sale, and one sale is life or month changing, let's say, because if you make a sale for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6K, however much you're charging, one person behind one thing on one call means you have made so much money. You have made a lot of people's monthly salary if they're in a corporate over one sale. And that means that you get emotional. Because you really want to make that sale, because you can envisage the nice dinner you can have. You can envisage paying the rent without thinking about it. You can envisage the nice little, the nice thing you're going to be able to buy yourself, the holiday you can go on, all that sort of thing, over just one sale. And even if you're in low ticket, you get emotional about that stuff, right? It's still emotional when you make sales and not. And the problem that you have is if you get very happy, when I say emotional, I mean either happy or sad, right? So the problem is if you make a sale and you start running around the room celebrating, which is what I have done. I captured myself running, being so happy with myself. And don't get me wrong, there's time and a place for it. But in general, I found that if you celebrate when you win, you also feel awful when you lose. So important. If you celebrate when you win, you feel awful when you lose. And that is what happens on the sales calls with your business, is that you need to maintain a flat feeling when you are in this sales process. But you want to maintain the fact that you are in abundance. It comes back to that abundance mindset, but you don't need to make that sale because of the fact that you're going to be okay, if things are going to work out. And every time now, as I said, I've started making 5-figure sales. And so one 5-figure drop is as I said, life-changing, right? Or year-changing. That's enough money for me to last for the next 6 months, right? But I do not get emotional when I sell someone now. I got past that at about 20 to 30K, where if I jump off a sales call and someone doesn't buy, I just go next job. But if I jump off the phone and someone has bought from me, I'm like, next job. And that's not that I don't celebrate the wins, but I don't celebrate the wins that I can't affect. I don't celebrate the things that I can't improve. I only celebrate inputs. I will be so happy after I film this video. I'll be so happy after I jump off my content call and I jump off a client call, anything like that, because I can control that stuff. What I can't control is whether a sale comes in. What I can't control is a client result. So I'm not happy about those things. What I am happy about is doing the things that I know I should do. And I celebrate that. And then I celebrate the other things in life, like spending time with my dad on holiday here, like taking my mum on holiday. Those things I celebrate. What I don't celebrate is those things out of my control. And that is one thing that, you know, when you're stuck at 20K, your emotional, and I say this because it was me, my emotional variances were killing my business because I was just burning myself out. I was in such an awful place when I wasn't making sales that it would go and affect my ability to then go and make a sale in the future. And that is one almost important key mindset shift that you have to get rid of the below the 20K a month mark. So that's basically how I got to that 20K a month was mindset and execution, going and just doing the goddamn thing. Investing in a mentor was very good because I learned this idea of like, it helped me to have clarity on what I needed to do. Even just making the investment was very good, which is why I'm very pro people investing, whether it's with me or not. If you want to invest with me, then my link is in the description to book in a call, to have a chat about moving your business forward. But if you're also looking to invest in anyone else, I would say just do that. I would just say you have to invest in people, especially to get to that 20K a month, because you're like a headless chicken running around not knowing what to do. And I say you as in me and you, because I was also like that. And then when you invest in someone, it gives you clarity. It gives you so much clarity of, I just need to go and do the thing that they are telling me to do and nothing else. So I would say that's a really important thing to do to get to that 20K a month mark. And then after that, what you find, and this is the kind of next step, after that, what you find is that you have actual knowledge deficiency. So to get to the next level, you need actual information as opposed to just going and doing the thing. Controversial statement, but I believe everyone with the right packaged offer and everyone who just does the goddamn work will get to that 20K, will easily get to that 20K. Maybe controversial, but I believe that. Then after 20K, it's all about having information. So it's, do you have the knowledge in order to scale? So one thing that really affected me when I was going from 20 to 100 was this idea that I had a vehicle which was scalable, but I just didn't have enough views. But I didn't have the knowledge of what I needed to do to increase the amount of views that I was getting, because I was pumping out loads of content. The content was pretty good quality, but I was still stuck at this ceiling. Like I was still doing, my videos were doing 10, 15K, quite regularly views on Instagram, and like, you know, 500 to 1,000 on YouTube. So the views were doing fine, but I needed more, right? I need more eyeballs. And and then I started using ads, right? And that was a knowledge deficiency that I had. I literally did not know how or why I should be using ads. So therefore, I needed to learn that. So you're in a kind of learning phase from 20 to 100, which I found. And then what happens is, so, you know, it's like you got a knowledge gap. That was one thing that I really experienced, a massive knowledge gap. And there's also this concept of hiring. So that's again a knowledge gap, but really you don't know how to hire. So you have to know how to basically get people who you're like, okay, how do I find great talent and how do I manage people? And again, I was super imperfect in terms of my action with this. I hired someone, I was hiring my editor for quite a long time, hired a personal assistant, also hired a setter, and those things were hard. Like, they pushed me more as a person than anything else in my business, taking on another human being, their wants, desires, aims in life, emotional issues, plus positive emotional things. It's fucking hard, but it's been one of the most rewarding things I've done. But that was the second thing that really got me to that 100K, is knowing how and who to hire and how to manage them. Because you fundamentally cannot use yourself, or you cannot just have yourself in a business. You have to have yourself plus other people plus leverage in order to make that money. So yeah, hiring was incredibly important as well. I hired some great people. I've also hired some not so great people, and I've learned a lot through the process. But knowing how to hire and where to hire from, and knowing that I need to hire, has been the thing that has allowed me to really, like, remove myself from a lot of parts of the business. Really, all I do right now is make videos and service clients. That's basically my whole job right now, which is great. It's exactly the way I wanted to build a business. It's exactly things that I like. So I now focus, and I think that's an important point, is I now focus on my zone of genius. But I think most people watching this right now will probably be under that 20K a month mark. But I think it's just something to think about. It's something to almost mentally prepare yourself for, because I believe you're going to get to 100K. I need you to believe that you're going to get to 100K, and therefore you need to know that there's steps after that. Okay, I guess let's just talk about a few random topics that have helped me a lot. So I kind of talked about content, talked about offer, but I think one thing that I have a lot of value to give and talk about is actually the concept of sales. Because I've taken, I don't know, maybe let's go for 1,000 sales calls, generated or pulled in about 550K of revenue in the last 12 months. Like most of it through my own business and some of it through being a closer, someone who does sales calls for other people. And I've learned a fair good things about the sales system. So this is how I designed a sales system which got me to 100K. The first is the concept of making sure you are just doing inputs with the sales stuff. So really to get people from being someone who trusts you, which is what we spoke about a few minutes ago, to get someone from someone who trusts you into someone who's going to buy from you, you have to work out who are the people who trust you the most. And those people that trust you the most are people that you need to have conversations with. So I realized very quickly that the more conversations I was having with people, the more I was reaching out to people, the more I was having those interactions, the more people who were basically going and wanting to buy from me. And I was like, well, I just need to keep doing this. So now I got to the point where I'm having 150 conversations started or re-engaged every single day on my Instagram using my setup. But when it was just me, it was just me doing, I think I was doing about 50, and every day just starting 50 conversations, because you cannot sell to someone if you don't have a conversation start. And if you can't have a conversation start, then unless you start a conversation, you're not going to get someone onto a call. And if you don't get someone onto a call, you're not going to be able to sell them. So effectively, like moving that through, you have to start those conversations. And starting those conversations is the first part of the system. But let me talk to you about the two things that you need for a great, to basically close a load of clients, is you need two things. You need a great system and you need skills. So let's split that up. So the first thing is the system I mentioned, having that conversation starter. And then the second thing, or within that sales system, you want to make sure you have two calls. I really believe in two calls, a demo call and a closing call. A demo call is to basically protect your time as you're probably still closing for yourself right now. And a demo call allows only people who are basically qualified to move through to a strategy call. And it also does a really nice thing where it kind of like tease people up it basically tees people up for the closing call. It tees people up for saying, okay, you are moving to a call where we're going to sell you something, and you basically need to prepare yourself for that, because you don't want people to rock up to your sales calls or your closing calls not having an idea that they're actually going to buy from you. So that closing call is incredibly important as a concept. Or that demo call and that closing call is incredibly important as a concept. And one little value drop which you're going to get because you're 52 minutes in, which I keep very much hidden for my clients, but it works really well, is this idea of having what I call a pre-sale asset. So a pre-sale asset is what you send to people between the demo call and the closing call, and that has all the information that you need to know about the program. So if you are to book a demo call, which you can do in the link in the description, and have a chat with my team, then if we decide you're a good fit and we decide we want to help you scale your online business, then what we'll do is we'll book you in for a closing call with me. And what we'll do then is we'll send you this preset asset, and that preset asset has everything that you need to know about about the program. So every question you might have, basically avoiding questions, because I work on the principle that if someone receives new information, then they're much less likely to close. So let me be clear on that again. If someone receives more information on a closing call, so on the call when they have to make the decision, they are less likely to close, because their brain gives them a reason to think, I need to process that information. And that information is processed. When that information is not processed, someone feels like they're making a decision that is not their 100%, okay, I'm very confident that is the right decision. So making sure that you have a preset asset which gives you gives people as much value pre-call works so nicely. So doing that. And then in terms of the system, you just need to do a few other things, like you need to do a lot of follow-ups to make sure people join your calls. You need to do a lot of also follow-ups, I mean reminders. You need to make sure there's loads of reminders for people to know that they actually need to join your call and that they know when it's going to happen, because if someone shows up to the call, if someone doesn't show up to the call, they're never going to buy. So you need to make sure they do show up. So that's that. So someone's showing up to the call, they're then going to buy, then it comes down to skills. So that is the system. The system gets someone onto the call and it gets them as close as possible to buying. The second thing is the skills part, because with a system, you can only get someone as close as you can, but a lot of people try and sell you this idea you can't have sales calls, or you should have sales calls where people are ready to buy. That is very, very possible. And I have that. I would say, 2 out of 5 of my closing calls, people are just like, yeah, here's my credit card details. Let's just get going. It's like the easiest call in the world. But what I would say for you is you need at a point to have good sales skills. And I accidentally developed this from just doing loads of them basically, but I learned how to sell incredibly well. And the idea of this is that and it comes back to almost what we were speaking about maybe like half an hour ago now, which is someone's ability and someone's knowledge and someone's skills and have led them to where they are right now. The way they make decisions, their values, all of those sort of things have led them to the point where they make the money they're in the situation they are because of themselves. So the principle of that is that someone's decision-making process is not at the point where they want to make the money they're making. So for someone to make the decision to act, for someone to make the decision to actually jump into a program where they know it's going to work, but you've got to be very clear on that. If they are 100% sure that it's going to work for them, which is the idea of the system that we get people to the sales call. So they join the sales call, they're 100% sure it's going to work. Then what we have to do is we have to push on their decision-making process to actually do the thing. Right? Because the thing is, those people are at a point where they don't do the thing because of the fact their decision-making process is where they are. I think I've explained that well, but effectively, what I'm trying to say is you do have to close people. You sometimes have to apply a gentle bit of pressure, and I don't mean kind of like using all the kind of nasty closing tactics, but you do have to occasionally apply a little bit of pressure to make someone change the way they make decisions. And I've had multiple closing calls literally in the last few weeks where someone has been closed. I've applied pressure for someone to go and make a decision, and then they've literally thanked me after closing. They've literally gone, "Thank you so much for doing that for me. Thank you so much for making me close, because now I feel like a completely different person." So I literally got a text from someone the other day saying, "Thank you for putting that pressure on." And what I mean by, or why I'm talking about this whole thing about putting that pressure on, is because you do need to actually know how to do that in a morally good way, in a polite way, in a sensible way, so that people don't feel like you're absolutely just trying to sleazy sell them. It's hard. It's not the easiest thing in the world. Some people react badly to it, but at the end of the day, they are where they are. This is almost a mindset thing you need with sales, is they are where they are. They are looking for help because they're not where they want to be. And they're not where they want to be because of the way they make decisions, the way that they are as a person. So you have to challenge that. And some people do not like being challenged, but there's one rule that I've seen over and over again, which is if someone on a closing call says that they're 100% keen and they do not buy from you because they cannot make the decision, they want to think about it, they want time, they're just scared to pull the trigger, they will not be successful. I found that, you can challenge me on that. Maybe you've seen other people who aren't like that, but I have found that person at that time where they say no is not at a place where they're just going to go and scared. I've never not closed someone who was 100% keen and then seen all over Instagram them absolutely killing it, right? I've never seen that. So all this comes back to, we need you to have the skills in order to do that in the right way. And this is there's a lot of detail within this, But the basic idea of sales, and people try and create all these frameworks, and I'm not a big fan of all these frameworks, because what you can essentially boil it down to is, can you understand why someone should buy or why someone wants to buy? Can you understand the pain that they're in right now, the desires that they have? And then can you position yourself as the solution to that? That is like effectively the sales call. And then can you handle the reasons why they do not want to take action? That is the sales call, right? So to be clear on that, to understand where someone is right now, where someone wants to be, and then how can you position yourself as the solution to that? Because if you can get that, it's like, well, apart from them literally not having the money, so apart from someone being not qualified, they are literally ready to go. There's no reason why they wouldn't just get started and do the thing. So this is what I would say for you, is just try and apply that pressure. Try and apply that gentle, like, can you say to them, this is what we're going to go through. This is the closing skills that you go through, is trying to apply that gentle pressure. And that's the skills that you need. There's a lot more detail in that, but that's the skills that I found. And now, having done 1,000 of these calls, I'm pretty confident on exactly how that works. So that's the skills. You've got the system. So once you've got that, you've got your no-brainer offer. We've then talked about generating trust. We've then talked about how to turn that trust into sales and how to sell people with a system and skills. The last thing I want to talk about, and I say last thing because please don't click off, because you're so close, and this is the stuff that I have actually never really shared online. So I can say please don't turn off, but also I want to be clear, I've never actually shared this online. So it'll be very interesting, is how to get incredible results, because it's all well and good me being like, oh, well, you need to get incredible results, but how do you actually go and get incredible results once you've closed someone? And I've explained at the start of the call why that is so incredibly important, to make sure you are getting the incredible results for people. Because if you get incredible results for people, your business will literally never, ever run out of leads, because of the fact that your testimonials are everywhere. And how do you do that? Well, there's two principles which I've understood from getting incredible results. The first is the concept of information, and the second is the concept of accountability. So getting people good results is about giving them new information that they don't know about, because a lot of people don't know the things that they need to do. Like the amount of people who I know who don't know that they need to follow, like reach out to every single new follower or something like that, right? Like just small things like that, information gaps that they have. Then the second is accountability, because remember what I said at the start, is if you're like sub 20K, your decision, sorry, I'm just walking literally on a spot right here. But if you're sub 20K, you do not have the actions needed in order to do the thing. You just need to do the thing, basically. So information applied to accountability. So I built my whole program on the concept of how can I have information that I provide to people. So in the form of one-on-one time, course modules, what else? One-on-one time, course modules, group calls, resources. There's the information, right? So I give them the information, and that is niche specific, step-by-step information. So it's the how, right? You're giving someone exactly how they need to do the thing that you're helping them with, no matter what that is. And then what happens is you need to apply that information with some accountability. So again, a lot of people know they need to do the thing, but what they don't know is how, what they don't almost do is the thing. So you have to apply the accountability to that information. You have to apply the doing the thing to the information, because if you don't apply that, then someone knows what they want to do, but they don't do it. So you have to create systems that make people accountable to doing the thing. And that is, I think, the biggest thing that I've worked on, is I have hired someone specifically whose singular role is to get my clients results. And one of the big things within that is to make sure they're as accountable as possible. We have ways of checking what their inputs are. We have like check-ins that we do systematically, going through client after client after client. So we make sure we check in with every single person at least twice a week. We make sure that we have a to-do list, which after every call, people come off a call and they have a set to-do list of things they need to do. So that keeps them nice and accountable. And then we also like keep them accountable to specific goals that they've set for themselves as well. So once I apply that information to that accountability, there is no reason that I can't be successful, or that I can't be successful. What I mean is also my clients can't be successful because of the fact that they know everything they need to do. It's such a beautiful thing that like they know everything they need to do and they're kept accountable, so they do it. So there's no reason why they wouldn't get the results. So you need to do the same for your clients as well. Even if you're an agency, even if you run an agency, is making sure that you keep them accountable to doing the things that they need to do, and then they also have the information they need in order to act on that. And that is how you get just stunning results in the info agency space. And then you have a full system, and then you can make 100K a month.